What is up, guys? Welcome back to episode 9 of the Zach and Pat Show. I'm Zach.
I'm Pat.
And welcome back. It's episode 9. It's Monday. So, Monday episode, that means it's just Pat and I. Before we get kind of into what we wanted to talk about today, just a reminder, we are doing the book club. So we are reading a book a month for the year 2024. So join us with that. And this month we are reading Atomic Habits. We're going to read the book, and then at the end of the month we're going to do a podcast all about the book and just kind of review it. So you know, watch or get the book, read it along with us. So now let's get into what are we talking about today, Pat?
Today we are going to dive into the fun subject of toxic masculinity.
Now, this is going to upset some people, probably.
But as a show where we talk about being a man, fatherhood, the mentality that it takes for those things, I feel like this is a topic that needs to be discussed.
Sure.
There's so many things that go into it. I mean, society, or what we see as the definition of toxic masculinity, it refers to the notion that some people's idea of manliness perpetrates domination, homophobia, and aggression. Toxic masculinity involves cultural pressures for men to behave in a certain way, and it's likely this affects all boys, men in some fashion. And so, I want to dive into this, and first, for you, what is it for you to be a man? What is it when you hear, when you define it for yourself? What traits and what do you say when it comes to being a man?
Well, there's a couple different things. I think of somebody who can provide, somebody who is strong, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally.
Standards.
Holding standards, having a standard and sticking to that standard. I mean, I would say those are my biggest things of what I would classify as a man. What is your definition of that?
It's a lot of the same stuff. It's one, having those standards. Me as a man and a father, and the way I want my kids to have a set of standards, and you hit the nail on the head. Not just physical strength, but emotionally strong, mentally strong, because I feel, back in the day when our parents were growing up and all that, emotions weren't really talked about. And that's a big thing that's come around. And,
Sure.
To be a successful person, you have to be in control of your emotions, and you have to understand your emotions. And I feel like that's something that has kind of, and a lot of men, that's one of those things that they are always told, like, hey, you're not allowed to show emotion. You're not allowed to have emotion. Well, luckily for me growing up, like, I can tie it all back into baseball is, it's very easy to get emotional in that sport. So I had to learn from a young age how to control my emotions, what my emotions were, and how they were affecting me and my performance. And it's not just on the field too, but like in business, how my emotions are going to affect me in my business. And then also personally and with personal relationships. So being mentally strong, emotionally strong, physically strong, having standards, like, I am going to be respectful of everyone. I'm going to be tolerant of everyone. I may not believe or have the same beliefs that someone else may have, but I'm not going to judge them based on that. I want to sit down and understand where they're coming from. Cause hey, there might be things that, even though we disagree, that we might be able to have a conversation that I can learn from them on, and hopefully they learn from me, because obviously everybody's different. Everybody has different standards and different beliefs. But that's the thing is, like, I'm not going to sit here and judge someone based on how they live their life or what they want to do with their life. I want to understand. And that's another part of it, is being a man, is being understanding, and patient. There's so many things that tie into it, but ultimately, as a man, a gentleman, polite. I was always taught yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. And, it's just kind of strange how today you can get chastised for saying yes, sir, or no, sir, or yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am. And that's frustrating, because in my mind and the way I was raised, That's just being respectful and being polite. And that's how I'm raising my sons. And also, in terms of, I mean, trying to, again, teach them that there are right ways to do this. And then chivalry. I was always taught, open the car door and let a woman in, hold the door open for them. Or when you're going into a restaurant, you pull out their seat and you let them sit and then you sit. Walking and walking on the sidewalk, you walk towards the inside of the street, closest to the street, and the woman is on the outside. It's just little things like that. But now those things are being lumped in and called toxic. And, I don't, for the life of me, I don't understand it. And and which, you know what? Cool. If that's what you want to believe, but I'm still going to live my life the way that I'm living it. And I'm going to teach my kids the same thing, because I've always found that that's basic. It's just a basic respect.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
it's just a respectful thing. I don't
right.
think anything that you said there should be deemed as a negative thing or something that, you shouldn't do for somebody.
Right.
I mean, it's like someone's walking behind me into a store. I mean, it's just nice to hold the door open.
Right. And
Like,
it's not that I'm just doing it for women either.
Yeah.
I'm doing it for anyone,
I don't care what, what person, who,
right. And
whoever it is.
I was talking with somebody recently that went to open the door, and for someone that had a bunch of stuff in their hands, and they were like, "Oh, I can do that." I'm like, "Well, fine, let me shut the door in your face, and I'll
I'll shut the door.
yeah, like, let me just shut the door in your face." Like, no, like that's not like, I'm not doing it because I don't think you're capable of doing it. I'm doing it because that's just the kind gesture. And I think some of that stuff gets misinterpreted, and I don't think it's right. And then competitiveness, I think a lot of men, I mean, it gets to a point where, yeah, if your ego gets in the way, that can be a bad thing. But and men in nature are competitive people. And I don't think we have the economy and the society and the thing that the success that we've had as a country if we weren't competitive. Like businesses, businesses weren't competitive,
right?
What would we have?
Yeah, if
like,
it wasn't
like if we didn't want to, in some of the wars that we fought, if we weren't competitive to win these wars, would we still be like going back to the Civil War? What would have happened if there wasn't a competitive drive from the people of the North against the people of the South?
Right.
Or what, when we were fighting against the British, like all those things, like we had a passion and a competitiveness that drove us because we wanted to win, to be better.
Bro, we'd be speaking German right now.
I know.
If that wasn't something that, if competitiveness wasn't something that was important to people. And I mean, you got to think how far this has got us as a society for forever. Competitiveness is what basic, what is it? The Darwin law, Murphy's law.
Darwinism?
Darwin.
Murphy's law is whatever can go wrong will go wrong.
You would know that. But
well, yeah.
no, I'm thinking Darwinism, survival of the fittest. It's just natural human evolution, where the competitive, the person who is competing, they win and they survive. Their bloodline goes on. Like that's how we've evolved to what we are. How we evolved from. I think it was like a shrew. Humans are like originally from like a shrew,
right?
And we've evolved from that.
Right.
So we've done that by winning and succeeding and reproducing, with being the one that's winning. And so there's nothing wrong with that at all, in my opinion.
Right. And I'm just looking at it here, and I just Googled just traits of toxic masculinity. Now, some of these, absolutely very toxic, but here's the thing. It's toxic no matter whether you're masculine or feminine. But for whatever reason, they're all getting labeled towards being masculine. And that's aggression, sexual assault, violence, homophobia, dominance, and abuse. Absolutely.
Those are all awful things.
Awful things.
I don't, whether you're a man, woman, black, white, straight, gay, trans,
doesn't matter.
It doesn't any of those things are all bad, no matter what you are. So,
but here's where I have an issue, is because now they're talking, like we just talked about, competitiveness. That's a toxic trait. Physically tough. Like that's a toxic trait. I mean, I can't help the fact that I'm 6'3" and 260 pounds and like broad and big and strong. Like I work out to be strong. Like I want to be strong.
Of course.
But
I wouldn't.
That's toxic. Like I don't understand. I don't understand that.
I don't either, man.
I mean, it would be one thing if I was doing this just to abuse and dominate people. But no, I do it because for me, being in the gym is one of the best ways to develop mental toughness. Because most of the time when I go, I don't want to be there, but I push myself through to get, not like the physical results are great, but mentally, the fact that I was able to push through it made me mentally stronger. And as a result of lifting heavy weights, yes, I am going to be
stronger,
physically tough. I'm not going to sit here and try and go out and prove it by fighting people, but to sit here and classify being physically tough as toxic, like, so am I toxic just because I'm physically strong? Fuck all the other traits that I have as a good person and things like that. But just because I'm physically strong, I'm toxic, or I wouldn't be as successful as I am in business without competitiveness and my competitiveness. And here, like, that's the thing. It's just like, I guess in society's eyes, I'm a toxic person, and that's bullshit.
Yeah,
because I know people, I know some people that are way worse that sit here and try and say that aren't competitive or aren't physically tough or anything like that. And they don't have those, but they're toxic people. Now I try and keep them out of my life and I try and stay away from those people. But at the same time, I'm getting labeled as toxic because of those things. And I don't think that's right. I don't think that's fair. But ultimately it's, and I think the narrative around those things needs to change. And I'm glad that we're talking about this.
Yeah.
So
sure.
A question I think actually I could raise to the both of you about the topic is it that society deems what masculinity is toxic and what isn't? Or is it that someone created a definition and a few people have decided to carry that definition? What do you think it's more of?
Well, I think it's more of the small majority that's being allowed. Like there's a very small amount of people being very loud, and just because of social media, I think it's amplified.
Right.
And that's my because it's like if you go talk to real people in real life, I feel like I've never experienced much of that in my life personally. I've never had someone in my life say that I'm like doing something like that was a toxic, that was toxically masculine or anything like that. I mean, I do some of the most, like, I guess by definition, toxic masculine things there is. I mean, I do martial arts
right
4 to 6 days a week.
Yeah,
I'm in a gym trying to break my friend's arms and strangle him unconscious. And
right.
I mean, does that make me
a
bad guy?
No, it's a sport.
Yeah, it's a sport. It's fun.
A sport.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's what I'm saying is, like, if that's the case, then pretty much any male professional athlete is a toxic person.
Sure.
And most of them are some of the best people I know. Like I was fortunate enough to listen this past week to Kyle Gibson, new Cardinals pitcher, amazing guy. When I was still playing, we trained together. One of my best friends growing up was his catcher through the minor leagues. So I know I've gotten to know Kyle over the years. Not great, but just having been around him. And, he might be one of the best human beings that I know. But by definition, and what people are saying, he could be considered toxic. But this is a guy who is very centered in his faith, and he loves playing baseball and being competitive. Like listening to him and things that we've talked about process. Mm-hmm. He talked about his process in the speech that he gave, and he talked about the way he goes about this and the drive that he has when he's on the mound. But ultimately, that's what he does. But his ultimate passion is charities that he works with, and being, the vice president of Major League Impact and the charity that he runs with Adam Wainwright. And like, by definition, according to what we Google, all you got to do is put in toxic masculinity. You can just put in the word toxic, and the first thing that pops up is toxic masculinity. So it's something that's
like
become
such a new term, too.
Right,
you know
right. But
I feel
it's gaining more and more traction and more like steam,
sure,
or speed, and it's not like if you really want to do it, like toxic masculinity, yeah, those first 5 that we talked about, that would be toxic masculinity.
For sure. Okay, what were they again?
So that would be aggression, sexual assault, violence, phobia, dominance, abuse. Let's see, objectifying women, promiscuity. Those are toxic.
Awful things.
Absolutely.
Every single one of them.
100%. If that was it,
yeah,
I'm all for labeling.
Sign me up for the
exactly.
definition. I agree with
exactly.
But it's all the
it's
stuff under that.
All the other stuff that you're lumping in the positive traits of a man and being masculine with these negative ones, and that's not right, because it's unbelievable that you're looking at certain people and people are going to get labeled that just because of who they are, and it's not right in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you should just label anybody just by their physical appearance. It just kind of goes back into that. You just can't just judge a book by their cover.
Judging people, like or assuming. They always say you make an ass out of you and me when you assume, and you see people and like I said, part of being a man and being masculine is being tolerant and understanding and being able to, all right, this person, well, I want to get to know this person. I want to understand where they're coming from. But I don't think it's the same way, because you start hearing, the people, they're like, oh, I'm tolerant of everyone. But then you start spewing toxic masculinity. That's not true, because if you were tolerant of everyone and you wouldn't be lumping and judging pretty much every man out there, because I could almost say every man or any masculine person is going to have at least one of those traits.
Sure.
Like there's another one on here, unafraid of taking risk. Again, where the hell would we be as a country?
Where would I be in business? I wouldn't be anywhere.
I wouldn't be anywhere.
I wouldn't be anywhere.
Hell, we just did a whole podcast, our last episode, about in order to be successful, you have to take risks in our business.
For sure.
In any business.
Any business is a risk.
So any business owner now.
High risk, high reward, man.
Yeah. So I guess it's like that, does that same thing for femininity?
Femininity.
Yeah.
Femininity.
And so,
hard thing for me to say.
Like we're in, what is that, Finding Nemo?
Yeah.
Or But no, I mean, but that's the thing is our female, I guess, does that mean female business owners are toxic as well?
Yeah.
That's kind of where this is heading, is like, where does it stop? And you can't, I don't think it's fair to lump in the good traits of people and call them toxic, because we wouldn't be here as a country or have the successful businesses that we have, small or large, if there wasn't competitiveness or unafraid to take a risk.
Yeah.
So, but again, it goes back to a small minority creating this definition, and it just gains steam or gains speed, and it keeps growing and growing and growing. And now, I mean, it's one of those things where we have to nip it in the bud. We have to have these conversations. More and more people have to have these conversations, and but it's not happening. I don't know if people are just afraid to have this conversation. I don't know if it's what it is, but we can't be afraid because of a small minority trying to label everyone as toxic, because we're not. We have to stand our ground and say, no, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
So,
question. What if the best way to, I guess, maybe not rebel against those people, but to give them the right idea, how would you go about showing them those things? Because for a lot of people, they need dramatic examples, and to tell someone something typically doesn't sit. I mean,
come on the podcast. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah,
Shit.
we'll talk about it.
I was going
to say, I think this is a pretty good way.
Right.
I think long form conversation is
right.
That's become a new art over the last 10 years. I mean,
right.
that's kind of where podcasts really started picking up steam, or at least when I remember them. I think the first podcast I ever listened to was really back in college. My freshman year of college. I remember my roommate showed me this podcast, and it was the Dirty Sports podcast. I think they're still doing it. but it was just two comedians talking shit about sports, and that was the first podcast I ever like regularly listened to, and then like from there found Rogan, and
Right.
then went down that rabbit hole, you know. Yeah. But, anyway, what was I saying? Long form conversations. I think
Right.
that's where people can actually really discuss, and that's the biggest difference between like forms of media like this versus like Fox News or CNN or any of these big major media corporations. Their viewership is down like 80% or something for last I heard. I don't know. I'm sure you could maybe look up the stats, but I know that they're down exponentially compared to big, like big podcasts
Right.
for
Well,
sure. I mean,
and
most people like this form of independent media way more, right? Because it's long form. You can actually say shit without every 7 minutes we got to cut to commercial.
right.
And
We're not being influenced by other people that we have to push an agenda.
Yeah.
You know, we have our own beliefs, and we're gonna talk about our own beliefs. Whether if you don't agree with them, okay, well then you don't have to listen.
Right.
You know, but maybe listening might give you another perspective on things like this. I mean, you've got 3 white guys sitting at a table and chatting about this stuff,
Right.
and 3 successful guys talking about this stuff, and these are still things that are it affects us in a way, and it's one of those. It's just
I'll be honest though, dude. I don't think about it. I just live my life.
Same here.
know,
I don't either. But when the first time it'll happen to you, it's kind of like, and someone looks at you and you're just like, wait, what did I just do that offended you? And I'm like, well, I'm sorry. That's on you for being offended. Not, but ultimately it's like, I had it, I talked to a buddy that just opened a door. I've had it happen where I've held a door open. That's usually where I've seen it, is holding a door for someone, and like, I can do it myself. I'm like, great, but you got shit in your hands. I just figured this was the nice, this was just a nice gesture. I'm not like, you could have been a man or a woman. You got shit in your hands. Like, it's always fun. Like when I go to a restaurant, it's amazing to see how many people don't hold doors open for people. Or today, I went to this local breakfast spot, the Shack.
I went there yesterday.
Yeah, love the place. Awesome. And so I was walking out, and it was an older couple coming in behind me, and just having the wherewithal to be like, all right, you know what, I'm gonna hold the door open for them. And they're like, oh my God, thank you. Like they were shocked that someone would hold the door open for them.
Old people?
Yeah. Like an older couple. It was, and they're like, oh yeah, that's really nice of you. I'm like, oh, you can thank my parents.
Normal,
yeah.
it's
And
just
then,
the
and as I'm holding the door open for them to leave and for me to leave, a younger couple comes walking in and just brushes right past us. And
Didn't say a word.
Right. And at the same time, almost knocked the older couple over.
Because they were trying to get past
Just
them.
because they were like, no, show some respect, wait your fucking turn, and then go in. But they just kind of brushed past him. And I'm still sitting there holding the door. And I'm just like, thank you for visiting the Shack. Please enjoy your breakfast. And just like, okay, yeah, kind of. But it's, again, I don't know if it's just society just not having manners, or, where does that go back to? Is that, that goes back to the parents? Does that go to what they're seeing on social media and what people are throwing at them? It's like, that's the ultimate thing. Like, one of the very first thing both myself and my ex-wife were teaching the boys were manners.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Please and thank you. Like, just basic things that are now, like, apparently just, that's not a thing anymore. And it's terrible. We're raising there's a generation of fucking rude people.
Yeah. I held the door the other day, and some girl just walked by, just texted and just didn't even look at me.
Well, and then it
acknowledged
also,
me. I just said, you're welcome. And
well, and here's where it becomes an issue too, is like, you're starting to see it within certain industries. Like,
oh, dude,
the service industry, man, like, it is insane. Like, the level of service that you get at certain restaurants now, you're just like,
but when you get a good one, you respect the fuck out of
absolutely.
It, dude. I have a dude. Gina hates, or doesn't hate going to eat with me, but it's less now because it's not the business I'm in anymore. But I did restaurants for 10 years, so like I was very critical of the service. Oh. Well, and anytime I'm in a restaurant, I'm watching, because I like to see like, all right, that's the service station. All right, that's where the food comes. You know, that's the window. You know, like,
What do
that's
the
where
bathrooms look like?
Yeah, and I look at the bathroom. I look at everything, bro.
Yeah.
And you know, but I'm very harsh or critical of the server and their manners and their process and like their frequency. But yeah, just yesterday when I went to the Shack and then like we had a great server, but the host I had just, you know, how many? 3? There'll be 3 of us. Yeah, they're on their way. She just grabbed the menus, took off, set them down on the thing, and walked away. Like not even like acknowledged my. She just like
thank you,
threw them down, and I was like,
I don't have to come here. I don't have to spend my money.
You're
here.
like You're the one. You're like the first person. You're the first impression of the restaurant.
Yeah,
like that's what I always used to say.
I'm glad you said that because whenever they would say that, like when we worked at a restaurant, you didn't believe it, and then like when you go, you're like, "Fuck, it's true."
You are. You're the first person that they're interacting with, so it's like, you know, you're getting knocked down on the ladder right there, and it's like, all right, well, you gotta come back up a little bit before I'm gonna bring you back up, and
right.
You know, it's just I'm very critical, but it's.
But I'm the same way. But again, we're both technically service.
Yeah,
customer service, 100%. Like I'm shooting for 5 stars from everyone. Like no matter what, from the people that they talk to on my team, to me, to everyone throughout the process, you're gonna get a 5-star experience, and that's what we want. We want because it keeps people coming back. It keeps people referring to us. Like
every person. I mean, I know we've fucking kicked this. We beat this dead horse, but like everybody you work with is I mean, it's not just that person that you work with.
Right.
It's
their
all
network.
the people, the whole network that they know, man.
Right.
Is so many great relationships that I've created of, you know, great people that I've met and helped. And then they've just like send me anybody that they've sent me so many people. I can think of several people that I've worked with that are like, you know, they're a pillar in my business, honestly.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like I remember we all went to Missouri State.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember the major hospitality and restaurant administration or management?
Yeah.
I remember there's a restaurant in St. Louis, Gilardi's. I don't know. Did you guys ever have Gilardi's? It's my favorite restaurant down there. It's a steakhouse. It's hidden. It's actually in a house,
Springfield?
In a house behind a house on Walnut Street.
Okay.
Yeah. And
over by Ebbets or something?
Yeah.
No, Ebbets was on Walnut, right?
Yeah, Ebbets. So like if you go, like you're heading towards campus and where you would turn left on, what is that? Not Kimbrough, but is that Cherry?
No, Cherry runs parallel.
Elm?
Elm. No, Elm runs, it goes,
I don't know.
It goes Cherry, Elm, Walnut.
So
no,
yeah.
other way.
But whatever.
Walnut.
So
Walnut,
whatever street's running towards campus, whatever that is. Once you right at Walnut, where Hammond's or the University Plaza is.
Yes. Okay.
So like directly across from University Plaza is where those houses start on Walnut. Well, there's a house, and then right behind it is Gilardi's. It's a real small, almost like they converted a detached garage into a really nice restaurant.
Really?
Like it's not huge, but the only way you're allowed to work there is if you're a hospitality and management major.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm telling you what, man, Missouri State does a hell of a job because I don't know how it is now, but the people that work there, phenomenal service.
Really?
Like from the time you walk in the door to the time you sitting down to drinks to the servers. And like that's the thing. You go to any nice steakhouse, Chris's, Fleming's, any
dude, Twisted Tree.
It's
my favorite, dude. It's
absolutely.
Every time, I mean, that's one of my favorite things about it is the service.
The service.
Every server there is like, I've never had a bad experience, and I've been there.
Yeah.
Dozens of times.
Yeah. So I have my places that I'll go, and there's places that I'll try. And if the service is shit, I'm not going back. I don't care how fucking good their food is.
100%.
I'm not going back.
Same way.
You know, and it just, again, it's all shit that just stems from people not fucking caring or taking pride in who they are and having that respect or that standard for themselves. But I'm the toxic one. We're the toxic ones. And it's bullshit. And I hate to see where this is going as a society in terms of that, especially the service industry, because it's gotten pretty bad. It's gotten pretty bad.
Yeah.
Is Sean Strickland
let's pull
toxic masculine?
Oh, 100%. He's about as toxically masculine as it gets.
Let's
pull up that card.
Yes.
I'm going to fix you, Bud Light.
Yeah, I mean.
Boy. Him for Strickus Duplessis. For the middleweight title. I mean, they've been talking shit on each other for like a year, and that
Sean Strickland's been talking shit on everyone forever.
He's great. I mean, he's a piece of work, that's for sure. He's very entertaining. I'll say that. I mean,
But okay, so here's my question though. Do you think he's really truly like that, or do you think that he does it to draw so much attention to his fights and make more money?
I think it's a little bit of both.
It's both.
I think he is like that, but I think he exaggerates it,
Right.
and kind of characterizes it, rightfully so.
Kind of like McGregor.
I mean, look at Colby Covington.
Yeah.
All these guys, fucking Chael Sonnen, like all these guys, they
Personas.
took this WWE like persona. Let's be the heel,
Right.
and that's because everybody wants to watch that guy lose. Everybody wants to see them fight because they're the big thing. Like, oh, he's the Trump guy. We want to see him get. It's and then Connor's obviously he just talked the way he talks shit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you watch his documentaries though. There's a few of them out there, and they're amazing.
So
and like the behind the scenes stuff, he's nothing like the persona that you see in front of the camera.
Yeah.
And it's always like, all right, is this who this guy really is, or like, hey, is he really just trying to drum up viewership for his fights?
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, he has had a very fucked up childhood. Like, if you listen to his episode, or I listened to him talk for 3 hours when I listened to the Rogan episode, and I mean,
Strickland?
he had like, told his dad to kill himself. He's like, Dad, fuck. His dad was like contemplating suicide, and he was like telling his dad he should do it, and like he's had some fucked up shit happen for sure. But he's also like, I mean, man, that guy can fucking fight. He also fights. He also spars more than anybody.
Really?
He spars like every time he trains, he spars. Which, for those of you that don't know, typically like most people that fight MMA, I mean, I'm around a lot of fighters, and I mean, from what I can tell and what I've seen, most fighters will spar like in camp, like getting ready for a fight, will spar like 1, maybe 2 days a week. Out of camp, if you're kind of coming up, I think the more professional guys kind of like as their career goes on, they already kind of know how to fight, and they kind of might tailor that off when they're not preparing for a fight. But most of the time, once, twice a week. But like apparently Sean Strickland spars every time, every day.
The thing that I believe that's not an act, though, is that he doesn't play up a character that's larger than life. He's someone who's very blue collar and very relatable. He's from one of the more blue collar parts of California, if I'm not mistaken.
He is from not like a nice area.
I'm pretty sure he's from where Social D is from, if I'm not mistaken. But
I don't know who Social D is. But.
Okay, well, Heresy, first of all. Second of all, they're one of my favorite bands. But
sorry.
I mean, the dude just walks around in a white T-shirt or some of his own
white
brand
T-shirt,
stuff.
Jeans and boots,
and a cowboy hat every now and again.
Yeah, every once in a while, I think. And then he drives, he drives like a motorcycle and
but like a regular pickup truck, I'm pretty sure.
And like a pickup truck, yeah.
That says he's from Anaheim.
So he's from California.
Yeah.
Well, more than anything else with him, though, is like when you look at Connor, he's friggin' billionaire. Like, he is larger than life, and it's definitely a super villain. Chael Sonnen was pretty blue collar, but that's the thing I really like about him.
But he was like the first true he was like the first one to do it.
Chael?
Really, Chael was for sure.
Absolutely,
he was like the original
bad guy.
I'm gonna kick your ass. Like he was so cheesy. If you go back and watch some of the shit, but it's so great. I love Chael now. Like he's got a great YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But he was like the OG heel.
Yeah.
And I don't think Strickland. I feel like he is kind of what he says he is. I don't really. I mean, I think he maybe amplifies it a little bit.
Well,
and he obviously puts on kind of a persona to draw more people in for the fight, which rightfully so, man. It's the smart thing to do. It's a smart financial decision. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, there is this like respect of martial arts, but like, you want to watch. If two dudes are very respectful and like they get on the mic and they're like, I really think my opponent he has a lot of attributes, but I think that I am the better fighter and I will succeed. Versus, I think he fucking sucks, and I can, he's not even gonna fucking touch me. I'm gonna fucking knock him out cold.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is which guy do you want to? Which guy is more entertaining?
Right,
guy 2 for sure. And then you want to see that if that guy's an asshole, you want to see him lose. And I think Sean's got some of that for sure. But like the fight itself, man, it's a super interesting fight because you watch Sean fight. I mean, I've watched him fight several times. He he's always moving forward, and he has this weird like Philly shell, which
Yeah.
like is not very common in MMA.
No.
So it's really cool to see how he used it. He stands fucking straight up, flat footed, just marches forward, and he just doesn't. I think because he spars so much, he is in just like incredible shape. Like I saw this picture, like compared to his last camp versus this camp. Look at this. So that was his last camp when he fought for the title.
Shit.
Now this is
He's
this is what he looks like now.
Yeah, he's a stud as far as work ethic goes. But the other thing about that style, to me, it's just like his conditioning is one thing, but the other guy just gets.
Drekus is a night. He's the problem. I mean, this is not an easy fight for Sean.
Oh, I don't think it's easy at all, but I'm pulling for him very hard.
I mean, but dude, you look at Drekus. I can't believe that guy makes 185 pounds. He's so big.
I'm 185 pounds.
Well, yeah, dude. You look. I mean, he probably sucks down from like 225, 230.
That's gross.
That drives me. That doesn't drive. That just boggles my mind.
Yeah.
That
Like,
how people
I would
can
fight
shed.
probably with my frame. If I were to fight, I'd fight at probably 145.
Wow.
I was 168 this morning. I would probably fight at 145
and
maybe 135.
Right, and going back to that Conor McGregor, the docs for him and watching what he went through to cut weight and what those guys. Oh my gosh,
I've been there. Well,
I couldn't.
I've seen some friends of mine cut weight. Like, dude, the serious like I've cut weight. Don't get me wrong. I've cut weight many times. But like the way that MMA fighters do it versus the way because I never did the 24-hour weigh-in with wrestling. I mean, I've done it for jiu-jitsu, but I've never cut more than like 7 or 8 pounds for jiu-jitsu. But like these MMA fighters, they'll cut 20 pounds, no problem. Or like not no problem, but like
Right.
they'll cut 20 pounds of water. I mean, that's what I was just watching episode of Rogan today with Joe Pfeiffer, who's coming up in the 185 pound division. He's fucking gonna be very good. He's very good. But he was saying that I think he fights at 185 and he'll get down to like 208, and then that's when he does the water. He'll be 208 like 2 days before the weigh-in. And
Oh wow,
yeah,
but
then after hours later after he weighs in, he's 200 and he's like 205 or something. You know, you put it all right back on.
Right.
Like I've cut. I think the most I've ever like water cut in at one time was probably like 8 to 10 pounds, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
But you feel like shit.
Right.
Like, and that's the
I
difference
couldn't
between
imagine
like wrestling, what I did. Like, so some jiu-jitsu tournaments will let you weigh in like the day before, and you can cut a little bit of weight. Like I've done that before, but not more than like 7 or 8 pounds, and that sucks for sure. That's a lot, but that's like nothing compared to what these guys do.
Right.
Like they'll water load. What they do is they drink like a lot of them do this. They'll drink like the week before they start like really ramping up their water, and so so their body's just like has so much water because the more you have, the more you can release. I don't exactly know how it works, but that's like most of them are drinking like minimum of 2 gallons a day, and then like they cut all that off, and then it's just like hot baths and saunas. Like a lot of them use the bath versus the sauna because it's 100% humidity when you're underwater. It's just miserable though, because you think about just like being in a hot tub, and you ever sit in a hot tub for a while and you're like, fuck, it's hot, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
You don't got that option. You gotta stick and you gotta stay in there.
Well, then you get out of it and you're lightheaded. I couldn't imagine how.
Well, and then a lot of times they get out of it, and then you lay on the ground. And you have people cover you with towels so you keep sweating. That's what a lot of them do. I've fucking seen it. It's gross. Yeah.
And then just to recoup and
then 24 hours later, get into the hardest thing you can do.
Yeah.
Get into a cage fight.
Right.
It's a scary sport, man. There are some
it
truly terrifying people. Like the first fight I ever sat through the whole time was Tyron Woodley. And I was like, that is a horrifying human being.
Yeah.
He's
a scary dude. Like, oh yeah, he wrestled from Mizzou. I'm like,
yeah, it's crazy,
I'm
man.
okay.
I mean, Woodley used to have a gym here.
How about McGregor Chandler potential?
Dude, I hope it happens, but the fact that
feels gimmicky.
It does feel a little gimmicky, and the fact that they're going to do it at 185 is hilarious to me. Because like Conor's like in his frame now. I know everybody's. I know he's
walking around. Isn't he like 185?
He's probably like 185, 190. But like, dude, he should fight at 55. Yeah. I think he fought. He's fought at 70 like once or twice. I know he fought Cowboy at 70, and I know he won. Yeah, he beat the shit out of Cowboy.
in like a round.
Yeah, it was like a minute or two in. It was like shoulder, like he had him pinned
That
up
was
against the
bald
fence.
Connor.
Yeah, that was.
I
bald
remember
Connor.
because that was that was
I think
Mardi
that was
Gras.
so he fought Cowboy, and then was it the 2 Poirier fights?
Yeah. The Poirier fight, then there was one he lost and he acted like a good sport about it. Then he
Right.
started talking a whole bunch of trash, and then he broke his
And
leg.
then he broke his leg in the
And
second
then,
fight. And
Your wife is in me DMs.
Yeah, wife
Hey,
is
baby.
in me, damn. Yeah.
You ever see him in like the chair with his leg was broken? And he's like rolling through Justin Poirier's neighborhood. He's like, ba da 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 da.
No, I haven't seen
It's
it.
the motherfucking DOG.
So actually, it's been confirmed that they are going to fight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
It's crazy. This is gonna be
on
185.
This is on the sporting news. Conor McGregor next fight. UFC star announces bout against Michael Chandler.
It's like June or something, right?
Yeah, June
Mm.
during International Fight Week.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Dude,
It's just a big deal anytime he fights. You
Right.
know, I mean, but dude, he might not have very many more of them. I mean,
No.
dude, you got to think. You know, there's that saying that it's hard to. I forget who said it. I think it was like Bernard Hopkins or something. But I think he said like it's hard to get up and train when you're sleeping in silk sheets or something. It was something along those lines. But it was. I mean, it makes sense, dude. When Connor doesn't need to fight.
No.
You know, he's made like $100 million off that Floyd fight, I think, and then on top of that, Proper 12 and all that. So he
all
doesn't.
his brand deals.
Yeah, he doesn't need to do anything for the rest of his life.
You know what Connor needs to do? Connor needs to go into public office. Connor needs to be an Irish public official because
he
people are
could be.
behind
Who
him.
wouldn't?
like
Yeah, who wouldn't?
Pacquiao did.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, yeah, who wouldn't vote for what Irish? I mean, I don't know Irish politics at all. I don't even know what they could have. I don't know what their structure is at all, but I could totally see him doing something in that.
you know, all the stuff that we've noticed that is wrong about what's going on here. He says all the same stuff about over there. As far as like the fight aspect goes, I'm going to roll a prediction on this. I think Mike will win.
Yeah. Oh, I do too. Oh man, I would
be
I
awesome.
would put my money on Michael Chandler for
I
sure.
just,
Well,
Mike is
we
one of my
don't-
favorite guys to watch.
okay, let's be honest.
He comes out
hot, too hot.
We've seen 4 people, I think it is 4 people break their leg like Connor broke them. You know, we had
Chris Weidman,
Chris Weidman, and then
Anderson Silva.
Anderson Silva did. Or no, it was Anderson did it on Chris, and then then it happened to Chris,
Yeah.
and then I think there's one more, and then I think someone broke. I can't
And
remember, but
Connor.
then Connor. Connor's the 4th, but we've never seen someone come back from it and
Be the same.
be the same. Dude.
Yeah.
That's a devastating injury.
and that.
So like that's
just-
what I'm like. That's the first thing I think of. I'm like, that's a big fucking deal. And you're coming out against a fucking explosive ball of muscle like fucking Chandler.
Yeah.
Dude, that dude comes out like a fucking bat out of hell. I think just we've just never seen it, man. I mean, all of those people that I mentioned we've never seen any of them come back and be the same. You know, Anderson was never the same after it. Chris Weidman, I mean, I think he's had one fight since the break now, and I think he lost. I'm pretty sure he lost. And then,
Chris Weidman's still fighting?
yeah, dude. Yeah. I
For
mean,
real?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not.
That was
Look
10
it up. He did it like, yeah, he's been fighting for a long time.
Oh.
I mean,
a
I'm
lot
not-
of those old New York guys, like they still fucking around, like Rockhold and stuff. I mean, Rockhold's out now. I mean, after the bare knuckle, I think that might have been his last one after he got his teeth knocked out by Perry.
Yeah. Obviously, baseball's different than jiu-jitsu and fighting and MMA. But I remember when I broke my leg pitching. Like it's like you get back, like you're good and you're healthy, but it's all mental. Like being able to mentally get that out of your head, like something's wrong, because your mind tricks you. Like, hey, there's still you need to be hesitant on it because you might hurt it again when you might be at full strength, and guys just might not be able to come back from that. And obviously, I don't know the severity of them breaking their leg or anything like that, or how bad it was. Like I couldn't imagine needing the surgery and stuff like that. But if you take the time and your bones heal up to 100% and you're back, I mean,
Bro, you gotta think.
But
you gotta
again,
throw that thing.
I know.
at someone else's.
That's what I'm saying.
Someone
That's-
else's bones. You
that's-
gotta throw. That's the
right,
name of
that's-
the game. Is I'm throwing my bones at your bones.
right,
and I'm hoping to
that's-
hurt you.
But that's where that's where that meant you get clearing that out of your head mentally, and so you're not having that hesitation to do it. And I guarantee you that hesitation is what's causing guys not to really fully go all out in it.
Oh, 100%.
I would. I mean, shit. I'd be fucking hesitant.
Checking,
as hell. I was
checking
hesitant.
a kick. Like
I was hesitant when I was pitching, and that wasn't nearly as stressful as trying to fucking kick somebody.
Who's gonna block?
Who's gonna block it
with their shin?
Right.
And it's like,
Ooh, I trust me. I'm just. I would just think that would be the more of a mental side effect than actual like the physical part of.
I do gotta say though, as a guy who did striking before jiu-jitsu, like knowing how to throw a low kick or knowing how to buckle at someone's knee if they don't know how to defend, it gives you a feeling of security. It's like, oh, that's something I can do.
yeah, for sure. But I think that's also, yeah, for sure. I mean, 100%. I think having any sort of martial arts experience is it's always it's a net positive for sure. It's always gonna make you feel more confident in a lot of situations. Because it's being used to being used to a certain situation. Like I'm 4 or 5 days a week, I'm being put in a very uncomfortable position with another human who's actually actively trying to hurt me, and I'm trying to stop that. And it's just, you get used to it, and it's so if a situation ever were to arise, like not in the gym, I have a pretty good feeling that I would control myself pretty well because I'm so used to being there.
Right.
I go there all the time. I mean, I don't know. I guess I've never really been in a physical altercation other than like a couple like fights in high school and college, but like thankfully I've never had to like defend myself in public.
Been in some fights in sports, but that's just throwing punches. You know, you're not
before
wrestling.
everybody breaks it up. Yeah.
Or you just put each other in a headlock and you're locked. You're locked
and then
up.
everybody comes and
get
him out of here. Yeah, break it up. But I think that's our time, guys.
Yeah.
We gotta get going here. But hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Like, subscribe, tell your friends if you got something out of it. We will see you on Thursday.